erupted across Mexico following the killing of the country's most wanted drug leader, known as El Mencho, in a military operation on Sunday. You can see smoke billowing into the sky there in this resort town on Mexico's Pacific coast. A witness says fires are ongoing and smell like burning rubber. Officials say suspected members of organized crime groups unleashed the wave of violence after the death of El Mencho. He was a former police officer who was one of the world's most wanted traffickers. He led the powerful Jalisco New Generation Cartel, or the CJNG. CNN's Valeria Leon has more details for us.
Fire, smoke, and chaos across several Mexican states. Cities brought to a standstill as criminal groups retaliate after Mexico's most wanted drug leader died following a military operation Sunday. Blocked highways, drivers forced out of their cars at gunpoint, trucks and buses set on fire. Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, a former police officer known to most as El Mencho, was the leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, wounded during a Mexican military operation and later died while being transported to Mexico City. The U.S. played a role in Sunday's operation, according to U.S. defense officials, though it's unclear to what extent. As fear spread, many Mexicans spoke out calling for an end to the violence.
People are aware of this violence, and what they want is peace, to live in harmony and justice, not in war.
Blockades were reported across various states, and classes were suspended in at least 3 states as officials tried to contain the violence and keep civilians off the streets.
I'm tired of seeing this continue every single day.
Under El Mencho's command, the cartel expanded rapidly, challenging rivals like the Sinaloa cartel for control of territory and trafficking routes. According to U.S. and Mexican officials, El Mencho managed to avoid capture for years. His detention and death is one of the most significant blows to organized crime in recent years, and the first high-profile operation under President Claudia Sheinbaum.
It's crazy to think how deeply rooted the cartel is, that one of the leaders gets killed and chaos happens across the whole Mexico. Absolutely crazy. Let's keep going.
The fall of El Mencho may mark a major security milestone, but with tourism, foreign investment, and security for the 2026 World Cup at stake, the world is watching how Mexico handles what comes next. Valeria Leon, CNN, Mexico City.
Well, the violence across Mexico has left some American tourists who've been asked to remain indoors stranded. Travis Dejanay from Los Angeles is stuck in Puerto Vallarta and joins us now. Travis, thank you so much for being with us. We are so sorry that you and, of course, the locals are going through all of this. What is it like where you are right now? Can you just describe the atmosphere and what you've been seeing so far?
Sure. Thank you, Ben. At the very moment, it's about 11:10 p.m. It's eerily quiet outside. And I say that listening from my windows, not from the streets, because we have been locked down for the duration of the day. It's been a day filled with anxiety. It started very fast and very loud. There was a bit of an information vacuum for the first few hours. There was a lot of anecdotal and social media reporting, so to speak, filling in some of those gaps for people. But we really were counting on each other to report to each other what were you seeing on the street. We shared a lot of videos, a lot of photo, and it was pretty terrifying. There were some sites that I personally saw just outside my Airbnb unit that I would have never have imagined. It really did look and feel like a war zone. And I think that feeling of anxiety, that feeling of what does happen next or what could happen next is driving what a lot of people are feeling right now. At the very moment, though, the streets, from what I can tell and from what I'm reading on social media, are quite quiet. So I think we're all in a little bit of a holding pattern to see what does or what could happen next.
And to see a shelter-in-place warning in what should be a vibrant touristy area, what was your first reaction when things started happening so suddenly?
Unprecedented, I think, is the word that a lot of people would use. I've been coming to Puerto Vallarta for years, and it's a city in a country that I love immensely. It's a beautiful city filled with warm, generous people. And it's also a place where Canadian tourists, American tourists, and tourists from around the world do see a safe haven, a bit of a paradise. So it is jarring to have that contrast, and especially when you see some of the visuals, some of the sites that actually do look like a war zone in a place that has been celebrated as such a paradise. It has been, of course, very jarring. And again, the speed and the loudness with which it all happened was it was literally alarming. There, you didn't really have time to think about like what's happening. You really just want to see what's on the ground, see what's out your window.
Well, these pictures we're seeing while you're speaking are very, very scary. So sorry you're going through that. Are people actually following the shelter-in-place warnings, or have you seen some movement and activity regardless of that alert?
There has been some movement. I've been going out on the balcony of my unit just to see what's going on, mostly during the day. And around 4 or 5 in the afternoon, you did start to see more and more people start to venture out. And I myself, I actually got in the elevator of my building, and there was another pair of tourists in the elevator, and we all were kind of deciding, like, or thinking about, do we want to go out? Do we want to try to see what's open? Especially with lack of food and in some cases lack of drinkable water, people are really starting to wonder and ask, when will it be safe for me to go out and explore? When will it be safe for me to maybe go to a store? Will the stores be open? Is it safe for employees to get here? I think those are all questions we're dealing with. Generally, though, I am seeing a great deal of respect for the lockdown and the shelter in place measure. And I think that's evidenced by what we're reading on social media right now. People saying the street sounds so quiet, the city sounds so quiet.
These pictures are insane.
That's a crazy, I didn't even think about drinking drinkable water. That's crazy. Let's keep going.
My goodness. Can you just tell us more about the violence that people are seeing firsthand? Tourists seeing these roadblocks and burned vehicles and a heavy military presence suddenly. It's mad.
Absolutely. I mean, I woke up to what I thought was a building demolition happening next door. And when I looked outside, I hadn't yet seen, there were some cars diagonally parked in some of the major intersections around my unit. And within maybe 90 minutes to 2 hours, each of those was lit on fire. And I actually did see I saw and heard and smelled a group of criminals set a car on fire and run. So the city does smell like burnt rubber at the moment. I went up to the roof of my building, and there was a thin layer of ash and some embers around, and you just seen multiple plumes of smoke in the sky, in the horizon throughout the day. And that was one of the other eerie parts, seeing that you could visually spot the spread and the number of violent cases going on at any one time. And you definitely still feel and smell that hanging in the air. So it is quite jarring. The noise, the visuals, the light, the sound, all of it, and especially the suddenness with which it came on this morning, I think it really did alarm a lot of people.
Now, it has to be it's probably like, I mean, I've never been in one, but it's probably like, to most people or ordinary people, like, looks like a war zone outside happening just in a place where you come to just have a good vacation. Now, let's pivot over into a few more videos and just get a little more information.
We're getting an update on the violence in Mexico. The military there killed the country's most powerful drug lord.
We learned this morning dozens of Mexican National Guard members were also killed. Eyewitness News reporter David Gonzalez is live in our newsroom with the latest on this. David.
Good morning. Mexico's president is urging people to remain calm after violence exploded in parts of the country yesterday. People were asked to shelter in place. Now some U.S. citizens are stuck in Mexico waiting to come home. Chaos erupts in parts of Mexico after one of the world's most wanted drug lords is killed. Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, also known as El Mencho, died in a shootout with the Mexican military as they tried to capture him near Puerto Vallarta. New video posted online and verified by ABC News shows the military operation against El Mencho. Gunshots or explosions and helicopters can be heard near a wooded area next to a cabin complex where the cartel leader was hiding out. Jalisco New Generation cartel members responded by blocking roads and setting vehicles on fire. President Claudia Sheinbaum says 25 National Guard members were killed in attacks in the state of Jalisco. But Mexican authorities promise peace and security. Today, President Sheinbaum says more than 250 cartel roadblocks across 20 states have been cleared. She added there is greater calm as things go back to normal. Americans are being told to avoid travel until it is deemed safe.
You could see the fear in people's eyes. I mean, they were very, very, very concerned. We're all just under the shelter in place, told not to go anywhere, lock your doors, stay inside.
The U.S. assisted in the operation by providing information and intelligence, but the attempted capture of El Mencho was carried out by Mexican forces. And Mexican authorities say more than 30 cartel members were killed in this attack. Another 70 also have been arrested across the country. Live in the newsroom, David Gonzalez, ABC 7.
It's a crazy situation out there. Let's go over to one more video.
There are fears the killing of Mexico's most wanted drug kingpin could trigger more waves of violence. In a news conference this morning, President Claudia Sheinbaum said peace and security are being maintained. The defense secretary revealed the government learned the location of Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes by tracking one of his romantic partners. Chicagoans in Mexico.
That's how it always happens. They track the woman and they lead her right to her.
Wait for the all clear.
Started seeing smoke below us. We thought it was one of the apartments. We had no idea what was going on.
West Ridge resident Elena Overa and her wife Mona Corey are still in disbelief about their situation. They last visited Puerto Vallarta 20 years ago.
Here we are, 20 years later, and we get this is our dream vacation turned into a nightmare.
Known as El Mencho, Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes led the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. The DEA says the cartel is a main source of cocaine coming into Chicago, also a major producer of fentanyl and methamphetamines. El Mencho was killed after Mexico's Army Special Forces raided a home in the town of Talpalpa Sunday. Violence erupted across 20 states. Cartel members responded by torching businesses, cars, and buses, and then using the burning vehicles to block roads. Lakeview resident Yanni Pizer, his husband, and some friends found themselves in the middle of the chaos while on their way to go whale watching.
Suddenly there was a young man running towards us with a gun in his hand. And he ran up to me. I was driving the car, pointed the gun through the window and yelled in Spanish, "Get out of the car."
Mexico's defense secretary says 8 other cartel members were killed during the military operation. 25 members of the country's National Guard were killed in clashes across Jalisco. Holly Lickman has visited Puerto Vallarta every February for decades.
I mean, we're still up in our room today. Haven't had any more information. And, you know, it's hard to know what to trust.
Jennifer Keltner says it has been a quiet morning. She's hoping to board a flight home later today.
All you really have to do is look down the hill and see that everything's kind of calm. So I'm surprised at that. I expected more last night. So far I'm checked in. So we'll see. I'm not going to run up to the airport just yet, but so far my flight is on.
Elena Overa and her wife are debating whether to cut their trip short.
We're going to talk about it and probably stick it out.
El Mencho was also wanted in the U.S., which offered a $15 million reward for information leading to his capture. The White House says it provided intelligence support for the military operation. Back to you.
It's a crazy situation happening in Mexico right now. Be careful. At the end of the day, just be careful. No matter if it's this situation or any other situation, you never know when something can pop off. A lot of times you won't be able to control it, or you won't be able to help the situation. You just got to go with it. But listen to the directives of the authorities. If they tell you to stay in the house, stay in the house. And then if you think you need to cut your trip early, cut your trip early. It's not worth your dream vacation is not worth your life at the end of the day. It's not worth your life. But that is what's happening in Mexico. I think they said at least 73 people have died in total. It's a crazy situation. And they're saying like they said, some people they're trying to capture some tourists. Yeah, just be careful whenever you go anywhere and to a different country. I wonder if some people, overall, this is crazy. But let me know your thoughts on this situation, y'all. How do you feel about this situation?